Welcome to today's session. This is Sweta Roy, English Master Teacher at Vedantu, and today we are going to start with a wonderful chapter, and this would be really an amazing read as well, and that is A Triumph of Surgery from your Class 10 Cbse book. So let's move ahead with the chapter without further ado, guys. So before proceeding with the chapter, let me talk a little bit about the online education that we are providing to all our lovely students. So we have tried to identify some of the problems, very important problems that you face. So what are the problems? If you agree with me, then yes, do hit the like button, and yes, do say yes if you do agree with me. So doubts, so many doubts you have. Notes, you don't know where to get the notes from. Tests and assignments, you always have to prepare for your test but somehow lacking confidence. Competitive exams, you don't know where to get the guidance from. Choice of schedule is also a major problem because you have to manage so many things, right? So you need a proper schedule, and it does not work if it does not match with your schedule. It has a clash with your schedule, right? And choice of language, again, some of you are comfortable in Hindi, some of you are comfortable in English, so that is again a major problem, right? So don't worry, guys, we are there to help you out in each and every problem that we have identified. So yes, all your problems are now solved. Doubts, absolutely no doubts you will have, because we are going to give you personalized attention in the Vedantu classes with the help of our master teachers as well as class teachers. So it's not just that I am only teaching in the Vedantu platform. There are so many wonderful teachers, other wonderful teachers as well, right? So many subjects, so many other teachers, right? Notes, of course, you get the teachers' handwritten notes after each and every session. Tests and assignments, we do conduct tests, we do have assignment after each and every session. If you follow that assignment, if you solve that assignment, if you give our mock test, then of course you are absolutely exam ready, guys. Don't have to worry for anything else. Competitive exams, we are also taking care of various competitive exams like Olympiad and so many others, right? And then schedule, of course, we have different choice, I mean different slots, time slots given to you. Out of that time slot, you have to select any one which suits you, right? So that is also not a problem at all. Choice of language, choice of language is also a major issue, right? So that is what, English, Hindi, right? So we have solved that problem as well. We have both the languages, so any language that you are comfortable in, you are most welcome to do your classes in that language, right? So guys, bonus features are also there. Unlimited live classes, micro course, crash course, performance report, personalized attention. So, as I told you, we are giving you personalized attention so that your doubts remain absolutely no more doubts for you, right? They are all solved. And performance report, talking about that, we are always conducting tests and tests, yes. So, we also give you the performance report of that test. So, accordingly, you can plan very smartly which area you need to focus on a little bit more and which area is your strong area, right? So that leads you to better result. That leads you, we hold your hand and we take you to the top, right? So that all of you become achievers. And micro course is short course, giving individualized attention to each and every chapter. So for example, you are confused about a particular chapter, you can have a revision of that chapter by attending the micro course. Crash course makes you revise the entire syllabus. So nothing is left. We are covering up each and every missing link so that there is no gap in your education, and your entire process of education goes in a structured manner and you become achievers, right? So what you need to do is just visit vdnt.in/ytpro, and these are the options that you are going to get as soon as you open up the link. Choose your grade, choose your board, check out the details. Whatever details I have mentioned, you can get all the details over here. So if you're satisfied finally with all the details, then of course you can get the subscription, right? So click on get subscription. You have three types of subscription: 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. So whatever you are suitable in, whatever you are comfortable in, you can get that subscription, right? So cost effective would be the 6 months, because you are, obviously you need for 6 months, right? 6 months is not that huge, right? And you need to trust us, guys. So we are there to always mentor you, always help you out. So 6 months, and if you pay 1 month every month, then that would be a little costly than when you pay 6 months together, right? So definitely cost wise, 6 months would be more effective. And guys, if you calculate, you will see that for each class you're not even paying more than 7 rupees, guys. That is quite cheap, guys. That is quite cost effective, right? And we are providing you 6 subjects. So most of you, what you do is, the mistake that you commit is you just take coaching classes for maths and science and leave out the rest of the subjects. So what happens at the end is you end up scoring 90, 95 in the science subjects, but English and social science you end up scoring 75, not more than that. So that brings down the average, guys. And the students who give each and every we in the platform of Vedantu, our students, we always give equal attention to each subject, and we take care so that you score more than 90 in each and every subject, guys. And that makes you achiever, that makes you the topper, guys. So yes, that was all about the Vedantu subscription. So do not miss this wonderful opportunity, guys. What you need to do is just visit vdnt.in/ytpro and use the coupon code SWREPRO. So this is for the English channel, SWREPRO. So don't forget that, guys. I hope this would be really, really beneficial for you guys, right? So give us the opportunity to provide you with the best. If you are there, we are there, right? So be with us and we will take you to the top. That's a promise, that's an assurance. And now we are going to, okay, yes, before we begin with the chapter, I want you to guess something very interesting which is going to come very soon. So with the images, can you guess what is going to come up? So do you want to know what is going to come up? If yes, then stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned if you want to know what is going to come up. You can make your guesses till then, right? Okay. So the image says it all. So if you, if you can guess with the help of images, do comment in the comment section and stay tuned to, know what is waiting for you, right? Okay. So now we are going to begin with a triumph of surgery. So while reading, when you read the title, The Triumph of Surgery, immediately you try to, curiosity fills up in your mind. What is this surgery? Now, is this surgery related to something, some operation? If yes, then what is this triumph of surgery? Was this surgery fulfilled? Was the surgery successful? Is it related to that? And you can see here, you have a dog, right? So why is this dog here? So, like, what is the connection? So let us find out what is the connection, okay, with the help of the chapter. So this chapter is written by James Alfred White, and his pen name is James Herriot, and he was a British veterinary surgeon. So now you can understand, right? So now you can correlate things. So maybe the story is about some veterinary surgeon operating on some animal. Is it so? Let's see what it is. Okay. So here in this chapter, he is the narrator as well as the surgeon, the veterinary doctor, and he is the writer also of this chapter. Okay, so let us proceed with this wonderful chapter. Today we are going to analyze the entire chapter. Next session we will talk about the theme, character sketch, important questions, and the third session is going to be on mentee. So before moving ahead, how I would like to ask you, how many of you have pets in your home? Anybody? Or animal lovers? So literature lovers, are you all animal lovers as well? You all are nature lovers, right? So are you all animal lovers as well? So give me a high five and tell me how many of you are animal lovers, right? And now I would like to tell you about myself. I am a great animal lover, guys. Okay, and I have pets. Most of you must be knowing that I have cats in my home, and I have a cat family actually, and the number of cats in our home has increased to, they have exceeded the number of cats have exceeded the number of members in our family. So yes, I have 7 cats. Two mother cats and 3 plus 2, 5 kittens. So I'll show you some of the picture. Maybe you could also talk about your own cats or your own pet animals, right? In the comment section, definitely do mention, okay? And do mention how you like the pictures. So this is one picture. See all the kittens. 3 kittens lying here. And then another picture I will show you. So many cats. The entire family. Let's just see. Just have a look. See. So now here you can see 6 of them, but I have 7. One is missing over here, right? So that was about my animal. I mean, what to say? My pets. I would not say just single pet, but yes, a family. Okay. So let me know about yours, guys. And now we will begin with the chapter, which is also about a pet dog called Tricky. So let's hear that story of Tricky. Most of you would be amused because this is a great read, amusing read, right? So now Mr. Harriet was a veterinary surgeon and he is narrating, as I told you that he is also the narrator, the author, as well as the veterinary surgeon, right? So now he sees, Mrs. Pumphrey with her pet dog. Now Mrs. Pumphrey is the owner. So we have three characters here. Mrs. Pumphrey, Mr. Harriet, and the pet dog Tricky, right? So now Mrs. Pumphrey is the owner of Tricky, okay? And Harriet sees Mrs. Pumphrey and Tricky. They are taking a stroll, okay? Question for you guys: who was Mr. Harriet, right? So do mention in the chat box. Now the story starts when Mrs. Pumphrey, a rich lady, is taking her dog out for a walk. Right? Mr. Harriet sees the dog and he's shocked. Why? Because the dog looks like a bloated sausage with a leg at each end. Bloated sausage means so fat. Okay, he's almost bloated. Right? So he is shocked to see the poor physical condition, right? Unhealthy because he was very fat, overfed. Okay, so he was unhealthy. So why was Mr. Harriet shocked, guys? Do let me know in the comment section, in the chat box right now. Okay. Next, Mrs. Pumphrey quickly explained that she thought that Tricky was suffering from malnutrition, right? So most of you, you take all of you take care of your pets if you have pets at home, right? Animal lovers also, right? So what do? You feed your pet, right? Just as I showed the picture of six of the cats surrounded and uh, having milk, right, from the plate. So similarly, you also do feed your pet animals, right? But when it is a family, it's very difficult. Trust me, guys, it's very difficult. Anyways, so coming back to the story, Tricky was suffering from malnutrition. So what did she do? She started feeding him. What did she feed him? Cod liver oil, Horlicks, okay, and also malt. So what do you feed your pet dog, guys? A pet dog or pet cat, whatever you have. Do let me know in the chat box right now. So guys, what did Mrs. Pumphrey feed Tricky? Question for you guys. What did Mrs. Pumphrey feed Tricky? Now he advises her to stop giving him unhealthy things to eat because he has already seen the effect of giving all those food items like Horlicks. Always she used to give him food, all these food, and Tricky was very what to say. He was very greedy. The only fault of Tricky was he was very greedy and he was very foodie. He loved to eat, so he never said no to anything. And she also kept on giving him, in frequent intervals, his favorite snack items, right? And Mr. Harriet said that you need to stop giving him unhealthy things to eat and so many things in between. Okay, and you need to make him exercise a lot, right? You need to make his proper diet plan. So these were the advices that was given by Mr. Harriet to Mrs. Pumphrey. However, he thought that when Mrs. Pumphrey also said, she also carelessly said that she would try to do that, but she's not very certain whether she would be able to be so strict as to say no to Tricky, because Tricky is always, loving to have food. Okay, so then Mr. Harriet understood that it wouldn't be long before he heard from her. Very soon he would become ill. Tricky would become ill, and he would receive a call from Mrs. Pumphrey. He was certain of the fact because of the way Mrs. Pumphrey reacted, because she was not at all serious about curtailing the food that she used to give, extra food, surplus food that she used to give, right? Soon, as Mr. Harriet had predicted, soon that happened and the dog fell sick. The doctor is called. Now, what had happened to the dog? Tricky was, Tricky did not like having food anymore. He was refusing. So that Tricky, who was so much foodie, who was so foodie and who was a food lover, who never said no to anything, he was now avoiding food, right? And he also was suffering from bouts of vomiting. It's that was a critical condition, and yes, Mrs. Pumphrey was very worried. Okay, now why did Mrs. Pumphrey call Mr. Harriet? Why did Mrs. Pumphrey call Mr. Harriet? Very simple, guys. Do answer the question in the chat box right away. He knew that one day, one way to cure Tricky was to get him away from the house to the clinic. Because obviously, if he remains at the house, Mrs. Pumphrey is not going to do anything which would enable his health to be better, right? Which would enable him to recover. She's constantly feeding him, and now that is why, in order to treat Tricky, he needs to get him out of the house. Okay, so he suggested that Tricky would be removed to his clinic for 2 weeks. Mrs. Pumphrey almost swooned, fainted, because she used to love his dog. So you can relate with your dog. Suppose your dog or your cat becomes ill, and somebody comes in and says that he needs to be shifted to the hospital. How would you have felt? Similarly, Tricky's owner, Mrs. Pumphrey, since Mrs. Pumphrey was alone in the house, I mean, she was a lonely lady, and the only the only creature that she showered all her love on was Tricky, right? So now, Tricky was being taken away from her. So that suggestion made her swoon. And the narrator then somehow takes Tricky to the hospital, even though he knows that Mrs. Pumphrey is not ready to leave her dog. And when he actually comes to take Tricky out, take Tricky from Mrs. Pumphrey's home to hospital, what did he do? What did Mrs. Pumphrey do? Mrs. Pumphrey started to, her servants and all, she also started to, throw away all the things, all the belongings of Tricky. Why? Because she wanted everything, the different kind of coats that she had for Tricky and all the other belongings of Tricky to be taken away to the hospital. So when somehow the narrator was trying to escape from the clutches of this Mrs. Pumphrey, because he knew that all those belongings was not necessary in the hospital. So you can see how over pampered Tricky was, right? So she even wanted all the belongings to go with him to the hospital, right? So he was not just loved, but he was over pampered, right? So so what did Harriet do? Somehow he managed to escape, right? So why was it difficult for Mr. Harriet to take Tricky with him to the clinic? So think about it and do mention in the chat box right away as you are watching the session, guys. Now, at his clinic, his dog came rushing to him. All his dogs. Okay? And Tricky, in contrast, just stared at them with dull eyes because he was lacking the energy. He was listless because he was not well. Right? For the next 2 days, Tricky was kept on a water diet. He was just given water and no food at all. Now, how did Tricky react the first 2 days at the hospital? Do mention in the chat box right away as you are watching, so that the story becomes clearer and clearer as you go forward. Now, at the end of the second day, Tricky started showing some interest. So, after remaining listless for the first 2 days, not even able to move around, at the end of the second day, after he was kept in just water diet and was not given any food, he started to gain some of his interest in the surroundings. And on the third day, he was playful. Okay, the narrator led Tricky to the dogs in the playing yard, and Tricky slowly followed the dogs as they played. Later, after the dogs were fed, Tricky sniffed their balls and licked them casually. Okay, so what change happened to Tricky on the third day? Important question, guys. So be sure to answer this in the chat box correctly. So the next day, when a bowl was set for him, Tricky joined the other dogs for their meal. So finally, a separate bowl was kept for him, right? And he joined the other dogs. And that was the turning point for Tricky. From then, he made rapid progress. He ran around with the dogs, fought with them, right? And hunted rats at night, okay, fought with them for food. So that was something, that was a sight pleasant to see, because that was showing his recovery, right? So on hearing that, now finally, another humorous element that the narrator says over here is, uh, finally, what happened, Mrs. Pumphrey, when she heard about Tricky's recovery. Now, Mrs. Pumphrey always used to call, Mr. Harriet in order to hear from him, okay, that about Tricky's recovery, right? So always she used to call him. And also, not only did she ask about his recovery, but also she asked other questions like whether he is, whether he is wearing his clothes according to the season. So this is an element of humor that is, that is put forth in the story. So a dog is taken care of so much that he has different coat for different season, and his owner is worried whether he is having the proper dress to wear for different season according to the seasons, right? So Mr. Harriet was clever enough to brush aside all these irrelevant questions, right? So but the fact that he maintained was that he he gave the news of his recovery, right? And brushing aside all these irrelevant questions. And next, what did Mrs. Pumphrey do? Again, She started bringing around baskets of eggs when she heard about Tricky's recovery. So again, started pampering him. She started sending wine, not only eggs, but also wine. Okay. Now, the narrator also introduces another element of humor here when he says that lunch became ceremonious for them. Why? Because they used to enjoy the wine, the eggs, the brandy that was sent by Mrs. Pumphrey for Tricky. Of course, Tricky does not require that, right? What did they do? They, the hospital staff, they started to enjoy their meal. They started their day with the breakfast with eggs, and then they had, the wine and the brandy in intervals in their meal, right? So so yes, glasses of wine before and during the meal. So that was, that was something very. They were having a gala time, right? And all because of Tricky. Okay. So finally, she also sent a bottle of brandy, and James and his partner enjoyed his drink at dinner. Right. So James was tempted to keep Tricky permanently, if only for the spirits and eggs. So yes, because he was having a gala time because of the wine and the brandy, and he did not want that supply to stop, and therefore he was tempted to keep Tricky permanently as his guest. So there is another element of humor. So all these elements of humor, please, I want you to underline these elements of humor, because that would help you to write your answers. Because this story is, fun. It's a fun read. So various elements of humor are introduced in various places in the story, so please do take care of the humor elements. Okay, why did Mr. Harriet think of keeping Tricky at the clinic? This is an important question, guys. But he knew that Mrs. Pumphrey was suffering, yes. So he called her and finally gave her the good news. And within minutes, she arrived at the clinic. James carried Tricky back to Mrs. Pumphrey's car. And what did Tricky do? The moment Tricky saw his mother, he jumped out of James's arms and rushed at Mrs. Pumphrey. And he also started licking Mrs. Pumphrey. That definitely showed how much Tricky loved Mrs. Pumphrey. Right? So, how did Tricky react when he saw the owner? And what does it show, guys? Of course, the deep bond, the deep connection with Tricky and his owner. Although he enjoyed his stay at the hospital, definitely, because he played with other dogs. He used to, he loved being bowled over, being squashed, right? However, when he saw his owner, he he jumped from Mr. Harriet's shoulders and straight onto Mrs. Tricky's lap and started licking her face. Right now, Mrs. Pumphrey, when she saw this, when she saw finally Tricky recover, with tearful eyes, she thanked James and she believed that it was the triumph of his surgery. So this is where we come to the title, The Triumph of Surgery, and the suspense with which we opened the chapter regarding what actually could be the triumph of surgery. How is the dog, how is it related to a veterinary surgeon? Is it some animal undergoing some kind of surgery? So that suspense is revealed. So this was definitely a triumph of surgery, but it was, I mean, the dog Tricky was treated by a natural process, and the surgery may refer to the hospital. And of course, even though it is it's a normal process, it's a natural process, he was not actually he had not undergone any kind of surgery, and Mr. Harriet was a very good doctor. He was an excellent doctor so as to treat uh, uh, Tricky without any surgery, but through natural process of having kept him in water diet, and finally he had recovered. So definitely that was a victory of his wonderful surgery. So why did Mrs. Pumphrey think that it was a triumph of surgery? Do answer this in the chat box, and do give the comment for this homework answer in the comment section, guys. Dr. Heriot was an intelligent doctor. He had sympathy and compassion for both the patient and his owner. He had practical approach in his treatment. Do you think doctors should be compassionate and practical like Dr. Heriot? So, if you have any personal experience about your pet, if you have taken that pet to a doctor, to a veterinary surgeon, you can write, you can share your experience with us in the comment section. So, do comment on the homework question in the comment section. We would we would continue the next session from here, from taking your comment to moving ahead with the question answer important thematic concerns. Today, we have just completed the story. I hope you enjoyed the story, guys. So if you have, then don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to comment on the comment section about the homework answer, and do subscribe, guys. This is a new channel, so do support us. This is just meant for you guys. So yes, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the Vedantu subscription as well. So choose your grade. These are the steps that you need to follow. Choose your grade, choose your board, check out the details, and finally you can click on get subscription. You have three types of subscription, whatever you are convenient in. My suggestion would be, of course, for the 6 months. So whatever you are convenient in. So you need to visit vdnt.in/ytpro. Use the coupon code SWREPRO. Right, guys? So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching. Do like, do share, and do subscribe. And of course, you can reach me out at any time you want. Bye bye. Take care. See you.